Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the channel, Excoundrel here. We're going to be doing another React video today. I know, low effort content. Good job, Excoundrel. But it is a good video, and the reason I wanted to react to it is because I wanted to keep the conversation going. Arclight Battery, the guy you can see above me, really fantastic content creator, absolutely brilliant PvPer, breaks down loads of cool stuff about the game, and one of my favorite guys to watch along with people like Big Math. And I'll put all of the links to his channels in the description below. If you haven't subbed to him, I'm sure most of you that watch my content have, please go and do it. He's fantastic. He's sort of made a video about, the problems with PvP, essentially. And if you've been watching mine and Big Math's podcast, if you've been listening to, a lot of the content creators, you'll know that PvP has issues, and we have raised these issues before, but the point of me reacting to this video is to keep that conversation going. The more that we talk about it, the more likely Blizzard is to do something. So we're going to jump in, we're going to listen, and we're going to stop it at points. We'll talk about his points, what we think, can we add anything extra to the conversation, etc.
Working so great. However, before we get started, I just wanted to mention that you've probably already noticed that I sound like I'm getting a cold. Well, that's because I am. So,
oh, look, dude, I hope you get better. I got hit in the nuts with a golf ball that I managed to hit into my own nuts, and I'm only just recovering, but I hope you get better. And also, anyone that watches me knows that I permanently have a cold because I have some kind of insane sinus thing going on. Speaking of which, I'm going to pause the video so I can spray so I don't sound like I'm blocked up all the way down to my lungs. Anybody that watches me knows that I sniff and it's annoying and I just can't help it. And I wish I could. Have no idea how to solve the problem. Right.
So, with that out of the way, I apologize if I'm a little hard to hear, but I'm trying my best and I think it'll be okay. So, let's talk about PvP. I've had a lot of people since the start of the season, which is just 2 days ago, comment on my videos saying, why did nothing reset? What's going on? How do I get more rewards? All of these players are upset and flabbergasted that their ratings didn't reset. Normal players generally only get to 9k PvP rating. And that is because once they break that
He's speaking facts.
Then level caps are no longer in play. So they get to 3,000 honor on a leader, and then all of a sudden they're fighting people with level 8 and 9 and 10 decks, and it's no fun for them, so they stop. And then when PvP resets, they don't get rewards again because only the rewards above 9k honor actually reset. That's really bad for players.
I've just realized, I thought my World of Warcraft was playing music in the background. It's actually Arclight Battery's got World of Warcraft music going on in the background of his video, and it's really cool. I love the chill World of Warcraft music.
That means that probably less than a percent of players are getting more rewards every PvP season. So currently, for the average player, and probably for the majority of players, PvP is not repeatable. That doesn't feel good.
This is an excellent point, and something that I actually hadn't covered myself when talking about PvP, because I completely forgot that you don't get reset below 9k. Arclight has hit the nail on the head. We complain about stuff beyond 9k not being achievable. I've maxed out at 12k. That's the furthest I've got so far in terms of PvP progression. But Arclight is hit a really, really good point here. Most of you guys out there watching probably aren't 9k or definitely aren't above 9k. And for those of you that are above 9k, this is still important. It's important for us and for those above people 9k. But most people are not going to get beyond 3k honor on every leader because a lot of people are just not going to want to walk into that arena with the level 8s and level 9s that you can see in this video and just get battered. There's no point. So Blizzard has basically said that once you reach 3k on each leader, there's nothing for you to do. There's no reason for you to continue playing PvP. I talked a little bit about this with Big Math on one of our podcasts. I said that the PvP rewards, there's nothing to incentivize daily PvP play. Once you hit a certain threshold in PvP, there is absolutely no reason for you to want to then queue up. The rewards on the actual ladder in terms of your honor progression are kind of pathetic, all the way up to like 13, 14k. The emotes are way too out of reach for the majority of the player base, and everything below 9k doesn't get reset. And on the way up to 9k, there's lots of really good gold rewards, there's some good core rewards, etc. But you don't get access to that on a reset from every season. I don't know any other PvP games that do, when they do a reset from season to season, that don't reset all of the achievable rewards. It is mind-boggling that you just have these rewards that you can only get once, and that is it on Warcraft Rumble. You will never get to access those again. And so therefore, from season to season, what is the point for most people trying to play? You may as well treat the PvP ladder as some kind of like battle pass, to an extent, that once you've done it, you don't bother with it again, because you're never going to get too far. You're never going to get too far beyond a certain point. So it's a really good point. Blizzard really should have maybe either, if they weren't planning on resetting people, allowed people to just re-unlock the rewards, or at least re-unlock some of the awards. Maybe the ones, sort of the third award on each tier, re-unlock those awards at the start of a season if you're not going to get reset below that rating. Because right now, as Arclight mentions, there's no real reason for anyone to want to progress past 9k on a total, because you have to enter this arena. Another good way of potentially fixing this would be raising the level cap from like 9,000 to, or sort of like 3,000 to 4,000 honor on each leader, raising the level cap to 7. So you go from like level cap of 1, 3, 5, 7. It makes sense progressively, but that still doesn't solve the problem of when we come to the next reset. And then once everybody hits 12k total honor, no one's going to want to continue to play again, because again, you have to step into that arena with the very big whales, and no one wants to do that, because you just get farmed most of the time, especially if you're running like level 6 minis. You just can't compete with people who have got like level 8s and level 9s. So I think like this is a really great point, something I hadn't considered. Blizzard needs to do something about the PvP rewards. Not only make the PvP rewards more enticing, but also do reset somewhere below 9k so that people can have something to grind for from season to season. There is absolutely no reason for most people to want to grind from season to season. And the 10k reward of Sylvanas 1-star last season, and I don't know if the Chimera is just 1-star this season as well, but it's pathetic. It's just not worth grinding for. So I think this is a really good point from Arclight, and I'm really glad he raised it, because it needs to be said. It does need to be said. Right, we shall continue.
It feels like if you have a system that people are supposed to be playing every season, and that's kind of the big thing for the season is PvP resets, and you know, it's time to climb the ladder again. No one's climbing the ladder.
No one is.
There's no rewards to get, because they can't push past the 9k honor. And on the topic of rewards, they are absolutely awful. Even if the players could struggle.
Again, just reiterating here, they are awful. Even if you could grind your way up to 10k, you get what you get. You unlock the mini, which you can get through your guild chest anyway. It's not a good reward for PvP. There's no point offering people the lowest hanging fruit of a rare chimera from your guild chest to say, hey, do you want 1 extra star for getting a really horrendous PvP rating to grind for as a free-to-play player or a low spender? It's not good enough. It's not interesting enough for players to want to grind for.
And push past 9k honor, it is not worth doing so. The next, the thing that you don't want to miss out on, if you had a choice, would be the epic core, and I believe it's 13,000 honor, right? Because yeah, I think it's 13,000 honor.
Sorry guys, I just had to close my Slack. I could keep getting messages through my Slack, and had to close it.
Maybe it's 14,000. It might be 14,000. Anyway, it's the epic core, and trust me when I say 0 free-to-play players are achieving that. Nobody, you have to spend a good amount of money if you want to be able to get to that epic core offer. And I think we can go back and look, but I think maybe 20 people out of everybody playing the entire game got it last season. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, I want to reiterate the emote and the epic core that you can. There is a resettable award, by the way. The emote and the epic core, 20 people, as Arclight said, out of the entire player base got those rewards. The emotes, they are fun, and you want people to have them. But, and I've said this on the podcast, when you have a PvP ladder that has rewards available for scaling up it, it should be within the realms of viability that a good portion of your player base can make it to the very top tier, unlocking all of the rewards. I don't even know anybody that's got sort of like the very top end of the PvP ladder, because they're not matching into people enough, and that's a massive problem. Like, most of us who are like dolphins, I think they're called dolphins, that are not quite whales, but they've spent a little bit. Most dolphins are stuck between 11 and 13k, and you just ping pong between 11 and 13k over and over again. That epic core is great. It's a great reward. It's 2,000 golds worth of reward there. But again, most of your people that are achieving it have basically already got all of their good stuff to epic anyway. And so it's not even that much of a useful pickup for the people that can actually achieve it right now. It'd be useful for someone like me who needs the epic cores, but I'm just not consistently able to get to that point because it's so hard to climb past that 11k sort of, well, even the 9k to 10k to 11k barrier. Like, it's so hard to climb past that. It's so laborious, and the matchmaking is so poor and takes so long that it's not worth the time investment.
There's also an emote that is at 16,000 honor. Once again, there's one at 16,000 honor this season, and guess what? You're not going to get it. Only 5 people in the entirety of the game got the emote last season.
5 people, by the way. Obviously, incredibly exclusive for those 5 people, but they were all just mega whales. And so, everybody else is like, well, that's an exclusive piece of content that I'm never going to see. And if it's that far out of reach, what's the point in trying?
I don't have the time to push to 16,000 honor when queues above 4,000 honor per leader are an hour long. People are using unconventional methods like boosting, using VPNs to find more players, which I don't think that one's so bad. But boosting to get the emote, which is, you know what? I'm just going to say it. It's completely fine, especially when the emote is so far away from...
And you know what? Like, I don't even disagree, because like, ultimately, who's the boosting hurting at this point, right? If you are waiting an hour to get into a queue to sort of get to the point where you've got 3 leaders at 5 to get the emote, you would need 3 leaders at about 5.35k each. If you're waiting an hour at 4k per leader, who's blaming these guys for just having a second account that's boosting the honor up and then tanking and then doing the same thing for their friends? Who is blaming them for that? I'm not blaming them. It's not hurting anybody. They're simply just matching into themselves so they can grind a specific reward. Which I get it. If it was boosting in a game like Wild Rift, where obviously then you're going to impact the rest of your team, it kind of makes sense. But it's not really hurting anyone because they're essentially just matching into themselves anyway. There's a select group of these very top tier PvP players that can basically only match into each other, because there's no one else at that range, because it is impossible for the majority of the player base to climb. And even if it was possible, as we've discussed already in this video, there is no incentive for anyone to want to do it. There's nothing to get in PvP on a daily basis. Once you've got to 9k, you might as well just look at your PvP rank and go, I'm there, guys, never touching this again. And that's why I talked about in the podcast, I'd love for there to be some kind of a daily incentive to want to play PvP. And as of right now, that doesn't exist.
Everybody, that is the only way you can get it, is by boosting or taking advantage of people using VPNs to play more people and play in quicker queues. It's really unfortunate. Other than the epic core and the seasonal emote, like the XP tomes and the Arclight energy are negligible. I think it's like 200 something Arclight energy, maybe like 250. On the reward track.
Yeah.
And then the tomes aren't even mega tomes. They're like modest and major, which are like drops in the bucket. PvP rewards should be meaningful. I don't think there's a single megatome on the track. There just isn't. And it is crazy to me that rewards cap out at 20k, and like, it's like the top 10 players there were a couple that were close to 20k, and then the rest of us were like 14, 15k. Like, you still have 5,000 more honor to grind to go if you want all the rewards. And I'm not saying you should try and get all the rewards every season, but I do think...
See, I actually disagree with that. I think that it should be achievable by just playing to get all of the rewards. I think, for someone like Arclight, who's clearly a top 10 player in the world at this point, for someone like Arclight, he should on every season, frankly, be able to get all the rewards. Even me, like I'm sort of maybe top 50, top 100. I should, as a top 50, top 100 player, I feel like I should be able to get the majority of the rewards on a PvP ladder for the season. I think that I actually think that this is the one thing that I said I actually disagree with. I actually think that a PvP reward ladder should have rewards that are accessible every season, and there should not be rewards on that ladder that you just feel are completely out of reach. I know that, in Clash Royale, there is definitely some of these very upper echelon rewards that you frankly think that are going to be not achievable, but to have half of the entire PvP rewards just basically out of reach just seems ridiculous. And I agree that the modest tomes are just a slap in the face. Like, modest tomes do nothing. I had to get 300 total honor or 400 total honor, past 12k, probably takes hours of matching, trying to get a slightly positive win rate, etc. It probably takes hours to get that, and then you get a modest XP tome, and you're like, well, that wasn't even worth it. You're basically grinding for the number at this point, because there isn't even an official leaderboard. So you're basically grinding for the number to just have and say, I'm that number.
I think that if your top 10 players, I think one person last season, maybe two, maybe Fieldsy got two, but Talad, I believe, is the only player last season to get the full 20k rewards. Shouldn't that tell you that your reward track is too stretched out, or that PvP is just not being played? It's really rough, especially on the free-to-play players. If I were to fix it, well, I guess here are just my ideas for things that I would absolutely do if I were in charge, or had any sort of influence. First, I would change it to where leaders are capped at 7, or rather army levels are capped at 7 until you get to 4,000 honor.
Yeah, we've said this in the podcast before, and I 100% agree. I think I said it in this video just a minute ago. That progression from 1, 3, 5, 7 is nice, but it's in my opinion, it's a band-aid solution. It doesn't solve the deep-rooted issue with PvP, but it might make people more interested in pushing to slightly more relevant rewards every season, and sort of having a reason to play past 9k. But then we're then just moving the goalposts from 9k to 12k, and then people are just not going to play past 12k, right? So it's an interesting point.
Maybe even a little higher, because people want to play your game. You should let them play your game. Currently, they're not able to. I would reset all PvP rewards. I don't think that's that egregious. Like, no one's abusing all of your rewards that you're getting on the low end of that track. They're all minor tomes. And sure, there's a little bit of gold down there, but that's the best thing. And, like, who cares if someone gets an extra 2,000 gold at the start of a season? Why?
I agree, right? I don't necessarily think you need to reset people's rating, but you should be able to just essentially reset all the rewards on the ladder. And like I said, if it's just the gold rewards and the final rewards from each tier that you're resetting, as Arclight said, 2,000 gold doesn't actually get you that far in the game. It will provide you with some nice boosts, but I think you should, like, there isn't any end of season rewards, right? We're not getting a big payout for our placement at the end of season, which is another big problem. So on the season reset, you feel like there should be something extra to add. So I 100% agree here.
Why would that matter? New players would love that. That would help them catch up to where people are actually trying to play PvP at. It would help them to break past that level gap. I would also squish the reward track. There's absolutely no reason you should have to play hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of games to get the top rewards. Sure, I think there should be incentive to play that many games. Maybe not for everybody, but imagine if the reward...
Yeah, I think I said this as well. I don't know when I said it, but it might have been on the podcast. But yeah, I feel like the max honor should actually be somewhere around 15k. And then you get into sort of that anywhere beyond 15k is like an open leaderboard type thing. But, I feel like the reward track should be squished, because not only visually does it look impossible to get most of the rewards, but it's actually just practically impossible too to get most of it. And like Arclight said, I think only Towlad and maybe Fieldsy got the full 20k rewards, which was the legendary core as well. So, I really feel like they should squish. I think maybe the honor system was designed because they're expecting a lot of players to want to naturally grind PvP. But if you offer them no incentive to do so, they're not going to do so. And I think that's maybe one of the issues that maybe Blizzard faces now, is that they've realized that actually people don't want to play unfair PvP in this game, and therefore gating over half of the entire rewards in that sort of open-ended playing field of unfair PvP just not going to be enticing to most people.
Track was like, it stopped at like 15k or maybe even 12k or something like that.
Literally on the same page.
That would be awesome. That would be so cool. Then players could actually feel like they're achieving something by getting all of the rewards or close to it. And then you should have a leaderboard where players get rewarded for being like, just like all other mobile games that have a leaderboard. First place gets something, then second and third get something, and then it's like 4th through 10th, and then 10th or 11th through 50 or whatever. It's just like a bracket of honor rating that get different rewards at the end of a season. There should be end of season rewards.
I said this a minute ago as well. I promise you, I actually haven't watched this. This is the first time that I've watched this video all the way through. There should be end of season rewards. Every game does it. I don't know why Warcraft Rumble doesn't.
It's not just what's on the track. Yeah.
My gut take is that Blizzard are worried about giving away too much for free, so then people won't spend. And to balance this argument, as I've said in a few other situations before, Rumble is quite a low spend, free to play friendly game. You don't need to spend a lot to become competitive. And obviously to max your account costs way less real money than you're maxing your account in some of its competitors like Clash Royale, right? So maybe they're worried about that. They are really stingy in terms of what they give away for free, because they realize that actually you don't need to spend a lot, and if you gave away too much stuff in game that has a relatively decent value of real money cash, people would be less incentivized to spend because they're gonna be breaking through barriers and breaking through milestones with the free stuff they're getting. I kind of get that. And I think one of the other big problems is that the very top end, like legendary upgrades, they mean nothing. Like to actually upgrade units to legendary, there is almost no point in doing so, because it offers you nothing to PvP realistically. You don't get an extra talent. It doesn't make your unit any better. So that's sort of the very mega whale threshold of like upgrading your account to the absolute premium level. There's not really much point in doing other than being a completionist or in anticipation for future content. So it just feels like the sort of that big money sink area of the game doesn't matter. So no one's going to actively want to push to that point. But because of that, it's meant that free-to-play players don't actually get offered a huge amount in terms of free stuff. And yeah, the end of season rewards just feels like a bit of a misplay from Blizzard. Like every game offers you rewards, and that's part of that in itself solves some of this incentive to grind PvP. Because if we're not getting rewarded for where we end in the season, and there's no leaderboard, then what's the point in grinding higher other than to just have a bit of fun every now and again? And frankly, even though I find PvP fun, I also find it extremely frustrating, and I can understand why a lot of people actually might not get the same level of enjoyment out of it.
Currently, it just feels awful to play, and like I'm playing in the high elo. Like obviously I've invested the money to play. I'm enjoying PvP. I think PvP is fun. I just wish there were more players enjoying it, and I wish the rewards were better, because right now they just don't seem like they incentivize anybody to play. It's really rather unfortunate. I wish that Blizzard would do something about it. Currently, it doesn't seem like there are any plans for that to happen. So far in the life of this game, since beta, Blizzard has been really slow to make changes, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. I just wish...
Yeah, this comes up a lot in terms of the speed of changes from Blizzard, and it's something that I know that me and Big Math want to discuss as well. But the reality is, in these types of games, changes can be hard to make because, in general, people tend to aim for similar sets of minis and similar sets of talents, and making big sweeping changes like that, especially if you're not willing to offer refunds like you do in Hearthstone, does kind of mean that you might put a lot of people out in terms of, well, I just invested all my time, actual money, etc., to get this deck that I know is good, has got good units in it, and then you suddenly say, well, three of those units are now shit. I can kind of understand why Blizzard are reluctant to balance that way, because, you know, people have invested actual cash to get certain talents and certain minis to set up certain decks. But there is also a point where you have to say, well, actually, if the same 3 minis are being used in every single deck, there probably is something that we need to do here. You know, there are probably changes that you can make to Quillbore and Safe, or even just specifically Safe. There's probably changes that you can make to Safe that will render it playable, but doesn't make it an auto-include in every deck. Because Safe restricts the meta a lot. That you can't play Necromancer that much anymore. You can't play Chimera. You can't play all of these really cool thematic units because Safe just one-shots them with Safe Pilot and Cloaking Device. So, you know, Safe Pilot restricts what you can do with the meta quite a bit. It also is one of the core features of this kind of heavy unbound spam. So I can understand, you know, the frustrations, but I also understand Blizzard's perspective where making changes when so many people have gone down the same route, aimed for the same types of minis, and if you suddenly change that, especially when you've invested real world money and you're not willing to offer some kind of gold or talent refund, etc., I can understand why that might be difficult.
That big issues like this would get fixed, because it really is a big issue. Like, so many people have just reached out to me wondering when PvP is going to get changed, and all I can say is I don't know, but fingers crossed it gets fixed soon, because even the people playing on the top end recognize there's an issue. So that should tell you something. When the bottom portion, and it's not even the bottom portion, it's like 90% of players, 95% of players are playing PvP and expressing that there is a problem, and then your top 5% of players are also playing PvP and also expressing that there is a problem, then it feels like, you know, there's a problem. I said, I gave you the ways I would fix it. I think it's kind of a rough system currently. It needs to be fine-tuned quite a bit, or maybe just redesigned in general. But, you know, I'm not a developer.
I was abducted
Got an
by
ad.
the
We'll wait until after the ad.
Now
I'm obviously gonna watch it. I want to support my boy Arclight.
Blizzard doesn't want to nerf things because, you know, you don't want to take someone, especially in a mobile game, you don't want to take someone's monetary investment and then just ruin it all. But it also shouldn't dissuade you from balancing it in a way that would fix that. So, like, you don't have to nerf the good things into the ground. You could buff the bad things to, like, add some variety into the game, because currently there is not that much variety. There are it's only a couple days into the new season, 2 to be exact, and we have a couple of really good decks, but all of the units are the same. Like, Safe Pilot is still good, Quillbore is still good. You know, Blizzard got better, but it was already pretty good. Dark Iron Miner, Griffin Rider, Huntress, Baron is still probably the top hero. Jaina got really good because of how small this map is, but she was already pretty decent. She wasn't bad. She was getting played in really high ELOs. I just wish that Blizzard would look at PvP and kind of be like, huh.
So my only take on this is that I'm sure Blizzard are aware. I mean, the data must be showing them that there is very few people playing at a certain honor range, right? They have the data. They know. They will see the live people that are playing at certain points in the game and how long it's taking to queue into them. But my gut take is that most people are probably enjoying this game from a PvE perspective right now. Now, is it a chicken and egg scenario where it's sort of like, if there was more incentive to play PvP, then we would see more people picking up PvP and playing it, or is it just the fact that we have just got a PvE orientated game where most people want to focus on PvE? That's the chicken and the egg scenario. So, that'll be my final takeaway. I think there's some really good points here from Arclight. And I think it's a really great roundup of some of the issues that PvP is facing right now, specifically around incentivizing players. We want people to be incentivized to play because ultimately the more people that are playing at the top level means the more likely we are to see, good matchmaking times. We're all going to grow and learn from each other. We'll get more deck variety. And I think one of the big problems, and this is my final takeaway point, guys. A lot of people complain about the meta, right? We complain about the fact that it's just the same 3 units in every deck, but to be perfectly honest with you, and this is maybe a hot take, I don't know, the meta is often defined by your top players. If you've only got 20 to 30 players at the top playing over and over again, you're limiting the amount of experimentation that can take place, because ultimately those top players will copy each other. And if you've only got very few people willing to go in, and especially when these people are so fiercely competitive, I think there's less room for people to want to experiment. The more people that you introduce to the top flight, the more people that we have bringing new ideas, and the more people we have bringing fresher perspectives to PvP. And that's what's needed as well. That might solve the meta issue. Having more faces, more thoughts, more viewpoints in the PvP ladder, especially, past that point where the levels are capped, might help us open up the meta, might introduce new ideas, might introduce new decks and make things more exciting. And that'll be my final takeaway. Getting people involved in PvP will solve a lot of problems, and I think that a lot of problems will naturally get solved by just incentivizing more people to take up the sort of this aspect of the game and run with it. But I think I've already got half an hour over this video. It's been a great video. I'm going to link everything from Arclight in the description below, and hope you guys go and give him a watch and get us subscribed too. Hope you guys enjoyed this discussion. Please keep talking about it. Please keep raising those concerns, and I'd also love to hear about your thoughts in the comments. Like, why do you do or do not play PvP? What are your thoughts there? See you soon.